Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier, the only football podcast you want to be subscribing to out there on YouTube. But of course, if you are, drop a like, hit that bell notification button so you always get notified of our content. Audio versions of the show, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. If you would prefer that, I don't know why you would. Joining me tonight for our AFCON review and a look at the final. We are down to the final coming up this Sunday. Darren, how are we?
I'm all right, Niall. How are you, brother?
Good, not too bad at all. The road has been long, but the journey will be worth it.
Right. Is it just me? I was talking, I came in from work earlier on, I said to herself, I said, I'm just going to put the AFCON on. And she just said, it's still on? And I said, we're at the second semi-final. I said, the final's the weekend. She says, whoa, that's been a long time, hasn't it? I said, imagine being stuck there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure the boys want to get home to their families and to their nice cushy pads and cribs and
yeah, absolutely,
their teammates and stuff like that at their club level. But listen, there's success only around the corner for somebody, isn't there?
Absolutely. Let's get into this. Let's have a look. The semi-finals, of course. Last night we had Senegal versus Burkina Faso, who I think have been excellent in the tournament. Senegal running out 3-1 winners, goals from Diallo, Gueye, and Mane in the 87th minute. Toure with the one for Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
Obviously made it a bit of a game at 2-1, but there was kind of only going to be one winner here, wasn't there, really?
You know what, in fairness to them, they've done great to get this far, Burkina Faso. Really, really have. They just look like a side that ran out of steam. And when you're the likes of Senegal and you've got a squad as big and with the depth that they do, I think it makes life just a little bit easier, than when you're lowly Burkina Faso and, your best player is Bertrand Traoré and he probably just about gets the Senegal team. You know what I mean? And he's your baller. So, yeah, they've done great. They've done their nation proud. They really, really have. And that's something we spoke about all along was, the pride that these lads have shown going out there and they're trying to do a job for their countries and stuff like that. So they've done a terrific job, Burkina Faso. They really have.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could say that for a number of nations, and I'll touch on it later when we talk about the highs. Obviously, this evening, we Cameroon and Egypt finished 0-0 after extra time, went to penalties. As we know, with these penalty shootouts, which has been a big feature in this tournament, penalty shootouts, they're just gas, aren't they, really?
They're a lottery, aren't they? They really are. I suppose tonight, there was a culmination of some good work from the Egyptian keeper, Garaski, I think his name is. He made a couple of good saves. The first one was a reasonable save. It's a really poor penalty, but the second one's a great stop. It's not a terrible penalty. He makes a really good fist of it, and yeah, it's a good finish,
Yeah, he made a great save on the line during the game as well. From a free kick coming in from Cameroon on the left, there was an in swinger coming in, and it went through a number of bodies, and he got down well for it to save it as well. In fairness to him.
Yeah.
Egypt going through on penalties, so we have Senegal versus Egypt. This is Mane versus Salah. The Mane versus Salah show. Probably, in some terms, the finish and the final that they would probably want in terms of the AFCON. Now, I know, obviously, Cameroon being the home nation and the hosts and all, they would want to be in there, and I tipped them to go through. And I think on the night as well, I think looking at the game as well, Cameroon kind of came out to play football, even though they're strong and they're physical. The one thing we know about Egypt is there's a bit of quality in the Egyptian side, but they're not strong and physical. They don't come across me as a strong and physical side.
No, they're not. And I suppose Cameroon did try and bully them a little bit early on and stuff like that. But I think the Egyptian lads seem to have the engine on the Cameroon lads, Yeah, and I think that was what kept them in the game, and they managed to see it out,
Yeah.
And then also used to be a little bit of luck in the penalty shootout and things like that. And but it was a tough game. The pitch was again very, very poor. Really, really was. It looked like their foot seemed to be going really far down into the turf.
Yeah.
And the grass was sitting above, and you just thought it looked sloggy.
Yeah, I seen one guy in the first half. He went to pick up a ball and he had to track back to stop it going out of play. And he literally slid along it and nearly cut a trench into it. I've never seen turf come up so easy. And not only that, this is your pitch for the final. That's where the final is on Sunday, as far as I know.
That's right.
So groundsmen have a lot of work to do in terms of that pitch, in terms of repairing it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll touch on before we get into the final, highs and lows. In terms of highs for me, obviously you touched on it earlier. A lot of these emerging nations, the Cape Verdes, the Comoros, the Malawis, and all that and stuff like that.
Yeah,
giving a real good account of themselves in the tournament, getting to quarterfinal stages, or getting out of the group stages where we thought it would be nailed on for the likes of Ghana and Nigeria and Algeria and stuff like that. They upturned these guys and they emerged, and it was really great to see that in the tournament. In terms of lows, I mean, obviously it was very unfortunate that obviously that stampede, that Cameroon thing where people lost their lives and stuff like that is a big low on the tournament, obviously. But obviously, as I said already, Ghana, Nigeria and Algeria performing so poorly as well, which was quite a shock in the tournament. And obviously VAR as well. They introduced VAR into the tournament, but I'm not too sure if they understood what they were getting into when they pressed the button on this.
I've got to say, for me, obviously, there's what happened, and it's an absolute tragedy, and nobody should ever go to a football match and not come home. We've seen this so many times, and it's awful to see. But if we look more on the pitch, for me, I mean the standard of the refereeing has just been deplorable, like absolutely deplorable. And I think it's something they're gonna have to fix going forward. I was listening to the radio earlier on, and I heard that in the 2028 Olympics, they haven't put boxing down as one of the sports. Now, it may be added to the panel later on. And one of the reasons they haven't is because of the discrepancy with the judging panels at Olympic Games and stuff,
Yeah.
And I'm kind of thinking to myself, you know what? The dog obviously wants to join in for some reason. There you go. They're gonna have to look at the standard of refereeing. You've guys like Mane and Salah who are coming from the Premier League. Now, we talk about how, at times the standard in the Premier League isn't great. Standard in the Premier League compared to what's going on at the minute in the AFCON is, it's like they've got 20 Kalinas in England, because the standard in the AFCON has been genuinely horrific. It really has. I don't think the lads have a clue what they're doing when we go to VAR. They've really no idea. And it's led to chaos everywhere. Yeah. Every game I watch is chaos. And I'm coming off after the game and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, why am I talking about the referee? Why am I talking about VAR? Why are we not discussing the players, the football, the fans, the good things, And I think it has to be sorted. I really do. Yeah. Now, this is a huge step, so I don't know if it's even something they would be willing to do. But if I'm the AFCON, I may be looking at taking 2 refs from the top 10 leagues in Europe and building a panel for the net, because I can't keep taking these lads. They're too accessible for to be gotten at. We know they're not on the types of money that, they'd like to be on. And we also know that if they're accessible like that, they're accessible to the wrong kinds of attention, where people can get at them and try and get them on side and buy penalties and buy decisions and buy red cards. And I'm not suggesting that has happened, but I'm suggesting there's a possibility that because of where they are and because of how things have, haven't evolved maybe in African football to a sense, African football, they've basically, we've imported all their good players it's not like the level of African football has risen massively in Africa, because it hasn't. You know, all of the good exports from Africa go to England, Spain, France, and they make careers there. And that's sad, you know, for Africa, but it's definitely something they're going to have to look at, because, you know, if I'm Mane and Salah and I'm in the Premier League and it's the biggest league in the world, we've got the VAR system, and, you know, we're getting closer to get the correct decisions more often now because of the way VAR is being used and stuff. Not every time, but more often. And then you go to a game like tonight and the standard is just so poor. And that for me is a massive low point, I have to say.
Yeah. And especially, I think, in terms of VAR and the refereeing, you're in a very emotionally charged environment as well. These fans are 100% in, you know what I mean? We've spoken a number of times about how these fans are and stuff like that. And if you can't get the basics of refereeing down, you know, you're creating a potentially very dangerous environment there as well, where people get so emotionally involved that things could kick off or something like that. So the very baseline has to be the referee takes control of everything. It's down the middle. It's 100%. He's fully trained up on VAR. He fully understands. I mean, the basic rules in refereeing at times were missing in this, weren't they? The basics, like.
Yeah, they were 100%. Like, I watched tonight, obviously, in Carlos Queiroz, you know, a man we know well from the Premier League and stuff like that. He's now the Egyptian manager, and he was sent off, and he was given 2 yellow cards within, you know, the space of about 6 minutes, and then his assistant got a yellow card after he did. But it kind of looked like the referee had lost his own emotions, as in he had gone full tilt. You were kind of thinking, if this guy's at a poker table, he's getting absolutely lifted out of it, you know, he's going to end up not with no shoes on, leaving the place, because he just got so emotionally involved. And I think it was difficult to watch, you know, because he was looking over to the sideline, he was scowling, and you could kind of think, this guy's he's gonna keep going here, because this isn't going, and he's not getting what he wants, you know. He asked the boys stop getting involved. They didn't. He didn't necessarily take control of the situation very, very well, and because he didn't, he had to keep producing, you know what I mean, to the point where it was silly.
Yeah. Once you start pulling out a few of them, you've sort of set the scene, and that's the standard that you're at, and you have to continue a bit. And obviously as well, I mean, he would have been in a kind of a hostile environment as well. You've got Cameroon there, who are the hosts, on the back of that unfortunate situation that happened where people lost their lives as well.
Tragedy.
You know, an absolute tragedy. So there's a wave of emotion there that referees are not immune to. But the real good world-class referees step up onto that and go, you know, I'm here to do this job. This is my job. And my job is to make sure that this match is played in the way it should be played. I take control of it, and it doesn't get hostile or crazy, because it is, you know. And you can see as well, even in terms of accessibility, I mean, this isn't like it's quite open, you know what I mean, from a security point of view as well.
Yeah,
you know?
It is. It absolutely is. I think, you know, we mentioned it from a security point of view, you know, they're miles behind. They really, really are. Now, I know I've seen armed guards at certain, you know, junctures in it. And then at other times, I've seen nothing, where people are walking around and you're thinking, who's he and why is he on the pitch, or what's, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
my view was I always look for a lanyard. I always look for a lanyard with a pass on it, or a control mechanism or something like that. And they're few and far between for these guys.
Yeah, and let's be honest, don't forget, like, something like that is dickied up so easily these days. Yeah. Like, if all you're punting for is that thing dangling around their neck, we could knock a couple of them up handy enough.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm talking about that just as a minimum. That's minimum, and I'm looking at boys, and absolutely. None of them have them on.
No, it's you know? it can get very dicey at times. You know, it really, really can.
Yeah. Let's talk about the final then. Let's get into the final coming at us on Sunday. Big interest here from Liverpool fans, obviously, at this stage in the tournament. This is Mane versus Salah. When I look at the two, I look at Egypt, and I think of a number of times we've spoken about Spurs and the reliance on how they play everything through Harry Kane.
Yes.
And I see Egypt being that way as well. Salah obviously is the focal point. We know he's probably the best player in the world at the moment. But
Well, he certainly is in a Liverpool jersey.
Yeah, but what I mean is everything is kind of force-fed through him.
Yeah, to the point where you stop getting the best out of him.
Yeah, because he feels there's an obligation on him, like what we see with Harry Kane at Spurs, where he's having to do so much of the work himself.
I think he's actually had quite a poor tournament, if I'm honest. You know, but again, I think it's because of what you've said. There's an over-reliance. You know, the left back gets the ball, and the first thing he does is
Salah.
And he's the furthest point from him, and you're just going, what about the guy 10 yards away from you? You know, your left centre-back. What about the left-sided midfielder in front of you? What about your centre midfielder? Little give and go. Everything. And I mean, when you know that ball is going there, it's got to be something special to get there and you not be able to get close to it or intercept it, or do you know what I mean? And it's making it very difficult. I think the big thing from Senegal's point of view is they just seem to have a little more depth and there's a little more quality. So everything, although, you know, Mane is their star, I think they can get by without Mane, whereas I think Egypt without Salah would struggle massively.
Yeah, it's not so much that they get by without Mane. It's that even when Mane is in there, there's other bits of quality in there that fit the jigsaw. Whereas I think with Egypt, you have a little bit of El Neni in there, who basically is a passenger at Arsenal. And then you have Salah in there, and we know how good Salah is.
El Neni's in there. There's no creativity from El Neni. He's in there as the water carrier.
Yeah.
Now, he's not allowed to carry the water at Arsenal, and they don't have a water carrier. So, in that sense, you're looking at it and you're going, how limited must this guy be? Yeah. You know, I know he's tough. He's ferocious in a tackle, you know, he'll put himself about and stuff like that. But if he's he's so limited in his quality, you know, the forward passes, everything seems to be sideways or backwards. And, you know.
And it has shown in the tournament, because for the whole tournament, it's been a struggle for Egypt. Even in terms of getting out of the group, they've just gotten out of the group.
The only reason they've gotten out and they've gotten along this far is because of how good they've been at the back, as opposed to how expansive they've been going forward, because they've really, really struggled to break teams down. Yeah. They haven't created an awful lot. They haven't scored an awful lot. And I think you can do that to a certain point. But I just think against Senegal, this is going to be, you know, Senegal's quality, and it's going to shine through for me. I can't see anything other than a Senegal win, I have to be honest.
I'm thinking the same. And the reason I'm thinking that, and it's a lot of what you touched on, I'm thinking with Senegal, I think of somewhat of a team with Mane in there with that quality, but they've a lot of quality players in Senegal.
Yes.
I look at the Egyptian team, I think they've got a reasonably resolute back line, as you said, and then they've Mo Salah.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing in between. And that's no disrespect to those players, but the reality of the results, the reality of their form in the tournament. And look, they're not just suddenly going to rock up on Sunday in the final and go, this is a final, and suddenly become, you know, prime Brazil or something like that. You know what I mean?
And the only thing that stops it is if Salah turns up on Sunday, which he hasn't so far, because of the pressure and because of him being the only outlet. Now, if Salah shows up and scores a couple, they have a chance at this. But if Salah has a game like he's had in the semis and the quarters, you know, stuff like that, this is Senegal all day long. They're starting to take the chances they've been creating round on round. And they're progressively getting slightly better. And I kind of feel like, you know, sometimes with a boxer, they have to time when they're in their prime. I think Senegal are just reaching that bubbling point come the final. And I think for Egypt, it's been a slog, and they're just starting to run out of steam.
Yeah, look a bit jaded. I think there's
absolutely do.
A good jockey knows when to reach for the whip.
Yeah.
That's how I often describe it. But I think, for me, I think it's nailed on for Senegal. I don't think Egypt have. I don't know whether Mo Salah has enough to get Egypt over the line. I'm not too sure whether he does. And I think Senegal, I think if Senegal were to lose, it's not pinned on Mane, it's pinned on Senegal as a team. I think if Egypt lose, it's Mo Salah didn't do it. It's not that's the way it looks like. I don't think when I look
Absolutely.
at Egypt, I think of Mo Salah. When I look at Senegal, although Mane's there, I think he's part of a bigger picture in terms of the
absolutely,
team.
and that's exactly what I'm talking about. You know, if you take him out, they're still a team. You know, but if you take Salah out, there's nothing.
Yeah.
You know, the lack of creativity without him is astounding for a team that's in the final of a major competition. You know?
Yeah, I do. I look back on the tournament and, you know, I have to pinch myself to figure out how Egypt even made it to the final. I really do.
Yeah, and you know, it's been the penalty sessions for Egypt, hasn't it? You know, they've gone through shootout after shootout. And they've just scraped through. They've just done enough every time, as we say, to just get over the line. But I just think this line's a bit further away than they'd like it to be. And I think they're going to come up short. Yeah,
I think Senegal does most of its good work inside the 90 minutes. I think Egypt have been heavily reliant on outside the 90 minutes. And I think in a final of this magnitude, I think the team rises to the top and the lonely stars might sink to the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. So I'm gonna go with Senegal. And listen, I'm a Liverpool man, so I love both these guys without a shadow of a doubt.
You're onto a win-win situation.
I'm onto a winner either way. But I think if you look at the tournament and you look at the form, and as you said, you look at the progression through the tournament.
Yeah.
I think Egypt have limped along at every single stage. And even, I mean, at one stage, remember back 2.5 weeks ago, we were thinking, are they even going to get out of the group?
Are they even going to get out of the group? Absolutely.
Are they even going to get out of the group? Whereas we knew Senegal, pending on the draw and stuff, was nailed on to go really deep.
We're always going to get out. Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely.
So, yeah, we look forward to it on Sunday and we'll see how it goes and it'll be interesting. But
give us something to look at after the LFA Cup weekend, won't it?
It will, yeah. We may need it. But listen, it has been an absolute pleasure covering the AFCON, I have to say. And as one of the football channels out there, we're one of few that did cover it. A lot of channels didn't cover it. And we did do a bit of work, and we hope you enjoyed our coverage of it. I think we dropped 3 or 4 shows in total on it. This will be the 4th, I think.
I think this is the 4th, that's right.
Yeah, so, but I think we have enjoyed it, although it has been marred with a lot of incidents and, you know,
we might have one more episode in us. You never know. We might do a team at the tournament or something like that.
Yeah, we'll have a look and see. Can we do? Yeah, it'd be interesting. Actually, we could do a combined 11 for the AFCON, couldn't we? And that'd make it interesting. Yourself, and Mark might do that. One would be
based on the competition rather than based on just, you know, what's available in Africa. So based on performances over the 6 weeks type thing, you know, or 4 weeks, whatever we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'd be interesting to do that. So we'll put together something like that, and while we're doing it, might do a quick review of the final as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be a bit of fun. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure following it. I hope our viewers have enjoyed it. We never shy away from football in any way, or the tough talk, or the tough decisions, or the tough topics that we have to cover. As always, if you want to contact the show, the Upper Tier Podcast at gmail.com, the Upper Tier on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music for audio versions of the show. Of course, drop down in the comments. Let us know who you're picking for the final and why. Do you agree with what myself and Darren are saying? Or do you think the Egyptian king Mo Salah will reign on that throne come Sunday evening? Or will Mane be the man? Till next time. Pleasure, my friend.
Over and out, brother.